Let's look into what is called a JavaScript function, which basically is like a block of code that will be run when we tell it to run. So we're just like we did before with our variables, which will just run when the system goes. We can also create something called a function that we only tell to run when we invoke it. Basically, when we call it, tell it to do the things we want it to do. So you already actually created functions before, like with the SAS mixins, and we actually created a function to extract data from the SAS maps and so on. So we're just going to create one in here. And the easy way to do this is, we're just going to type it by hand instead. We're going to type function like this, and we need a parentheses first like this. And then we need our two curly brackets, so the function looks like this. Now, I always do this, so we have function, the parentheses and the curly brackets like this, and that's kind of a lot like the CSS we already know. And in this one, in the first case, we're just going to leave this one open or blank or empty or whatever you want, but we're going to assign a name to this. So function, let's just call name, since I just mentioned that. This is actually the name of the function, so maybe something else, say my name. So the name of the function is say my name, and we're going to tell it to do something specifically. Now we already use console.log to just print something out, so we're just going to use this in this case as well. So type in console.log between the curly brackets here, do parentheses like we would before, so we could basically just copy a lot what we did before, and let's say Homer. And let's go to our Google and our Chrome here, and did I save? Oh yeah. So I created my function called name. I stored the console log to be able to print out Homer. But as I just mentioned at the start, I need to invoke this or call this before it's actually being printed. And that's why this one over here is empty right now. We need to tell the system, okay, we have something called a function, say my name. Now use this. And after the function, we're just going to type in say my name and do this, have this entered. This means it's going to look for something called say my name. Oh, it's found it. And then use this specific place here. So let's do this, save, go back to our Google Chrome. And now it prints out Homer because we called the function. That is a nice way of creating a block of code that is only being used once we need it. Now we can of course, like we did before, do a little bit more with this. So we can add in, say, hello. Oh, hi, my name is, like this, and then we want to punch out a name. So it doesn't have to be Homer. It just needs to be something. So we need somewhere and somehow, and just like mixins we did with SAS, we are taking some information and passing them through our function so it actually knows to put it here. So just like a mixin, if we were to use like the $, max width and so on, we need to use the parentheses up here and type in the thing we want to pass in. Our case, it's going to be name. So let's just click save for this. This won't do anything. It's going to be empty, or actually say undefined, because we haven't defined any name yet, but it's still printing out the static text we have. Hi, my name is. So how do we get the name to be something other than undefined? Once we call it, again, just like a SAS mixin, we call the function here, and then we tell it what should I pass through, and in our case we're going to pass through Homer Simpson like this. So once it runs, it say, hey man, I'm looking for this function or this piece of information called say my name, and I'm going to bring all this value. This is what I bring with me. Then A is up here, and then because this is in the parentheses, this means the Homer Simpson part would actually equals to this part, which then would equal to this part. So that's what actually is happening, but we are just creating a dynamic version of this. So let's click save, and hopefully it says, hello, my name is Homer Simpson. So you can actually put things into the system like this, and we can just continue adding more here. So let's do say my name once again, and let's change this to Bart instead. So let's see what happens. Now we have Homer Simpson and Bart Simpson. So now we're reusing this block of code. Instead of having to write this twice, we're just telling the system, oh my god, we already have something that's cool, so what's the next one? That's Maggie, March, and Lisa. So we're printing out the entire, oh, we actually need grandpa, but that doesn't matter. But as you can see now, we're printing out the family of the Simpsons by reusing a block of code inside a function. And that's really awesome, because that will actually help us do coding better and quicker and help us create larger systems. So that's a introduction how we can create a function without any parameters up here, and how we can create a function that actually parses in information through the parameters. And this up here, the correct name for this, is called a parameter, and it's also called a parameter in SAS. But that is kind of how a function can work. This is just a simple version of it, but hopefully that gives you an understanding of why we create a function. It is to store some code that we want to use at a specific point and then reuse it over and over if we need that, in this case, to create a loop or whatever we want really. Right, see you in the next video.